Hey everyone, welcome to Affirminders. This is episode number 3. And for those of you who are watching live on YouTube, hello. And for those of you who are listening to the podcast afterwards, hey, how's it going? And for those of you who are watching live on Instagram, hi. So hello, good morning, good afternoon, good evening. I am Robin Eckersley, your impact and empowerment coach. I'm also the founder of Own This Life Coaching, and I'm super excited to be speaking with you today, recording episode 3 of the Affirminders podcast. And today we are talking about, but what if I could? But what if I could? Now, before I move any further, Affirminders is the podcast that is designed to both affirm and remind women of their ability and right to dream up and dive into a life that absolutely lights them up. So, welcome. Now, but what if I could? We spend so much time talking about the reasons why we cannot, the reasons why we shouldn't, the reasons why it's impossible, the reasons why it's unreasonable, and we spend so much time and energy building these little boxes for us to stay into. You know, we build a lot of ceilings that we end up running up against, and then we feel bad for trying to break through them, right? So even if someone says, yeah, you should do that, you should go for that, even if we're lucky enough to have amazing supporters in our corners, and to be having folks who are cheering for our success and rooting us on. That's not everybody, by the way. There's a lot of people who don't have any of those folks in their lives. But if you are lucky enough to be someone who has at least one person who is cheering you on, sometimes we can be our biggest enemy, our worst enemy, where we're going to come up with all the reasons why it's not a good idea, we're going to fail, it's never going to happen, we're too selfish to go for something that we would love anyway. We stack up all of these reasons why we shouldn't move forward in a way that lights us up. So we don't just form this little, it's not just getting into some little cardboard box or a really easily constructed box that you can just step out of. We start doubling down, right, on the reasons why we have to live the way that we do. We have to settle for a life that we don't want, but we make do with it. And we double down and we build that little box made of bricks and cement. And we lock ourselves into those habits and routines and relationships, right? Where we start to say, this is exactly why I should be living the way that I do. It's totally fine that I'm not happy. It's totally fine that I'm not fulfilled, because that's normal. Nobody's fulfilled. Nobody's happy. Everyone should have a job. Everyone should just be lucky to have a job, right? It doesn't matter if you like it. It doesn't matter if it's fulfilling or if it makes a difference in a way that you would love for it to be making a difference. Roberto, hi. Hello to see you. Thanks for tuning in. So we spend so much time, right? And we get so good at creating the reasons why we should settle and why we should go for things that we're only likely to achieve, and we should not be too risky, and we should not, take the leap, and we shouldn't travel the path less traveled, right? We should stick to what we know. We should stick to other people's advice. We should stick to exactly what everyone else says, because we can't trust our own intuition. We can't trust our own gut. We can't trust our own abilities to figure things out. And we want that feeling of safety. So we build these brick houses of playing small. And those bricks, I'm really going into this metaphor here, those bricks are made from our excuses and justifications and all the reasons why we have to stay stuck to a very specific plan, because it's too risky to deviate from the other plan, even if the plan is no longer relevant, right? We double down on all the reasons we should play it safe and live a very predictable life that looks like all the other lives around us, or looks like the lives that we deem as successful, and say, that's the type of life I'm supposed to live. Right? And so essentially, first of all, I'm kind of like railing on this, but one, let's give ourselves a break, right? Because we're just doing what we're programmed to do. Kind of monkey see, monkey do, right? So a lot of times our thoughts, our habits, our behaviors these are all patterns, right? And these are patterns that are built and learned based on what we see other people doing. So the thoughts, the behaviors, the assumptions and beliefs, the actions that we take, these are modeled after what we see other people doing. Maybe it's your colleagues, maybe it's your parents, maybe it's people that you respect, maybe it's your friends, maybe it's people you don't respect, right? But you find yourself mimicking in some way or another. And oftentimes subconsciously, we don't really realize that maybe we're playing it small. We don't really realize that we're building a life that looks like the lives we see around us, right? So it's really important for us to check in with that and say, the life that I'm living now, the decisions that I make now, the way that I move through my relationships, the way that I speak to myself and treat myself, is this how I would love to be behaving? Is this how I would love to be thinking? Is this helping me or hurting me? Is this hindering me or actually elevating me and empowering me to take the next steps forward into a life that I would love, instead of a life that everyone else lives, or that I've been told is a good life, it's a successful, safe life to live, right? So it's really important to come back to that question. Is this actually getting me into a place where I can move forward into a life that I actually love, that really lights me up, where I love my weekends as much as I love my Mondays? Actually, you know where all this is coming from? It's right here. So I don't know how many of you are into bullet journaling. I go in and out of bullet journaling, and this season I'm in it. I love it. I love my bullet journal. So I went out to Michael's and got myself some stickers. And this is one of those stickers that I got. And you'll see a post on social media later with a better photo. These are stickers of the days of the week: Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Look at Monday. Look how sad Monday looks. Monday is a sad little dumpling with a depressed face. And I was like, it is so normal to assume that your Monday is going to be terrible. Your Monday is going to suck, and that Mondays are the worst thing to look forward to, and it ruins your Sundays, right? And it's personified in these super adorable stickers with a really sad face. And I was like, one, I'm definitely getting these stickers because they're dim sum themed, and I'm obsessed with dim sum. Two, this poor little sad dumpling is a representative for a societal context, and I had to do a video on this. So think about what things are in your life. What kind of things, like assumptions, have you formed in your own life? Like, work is supposed to be hard. Life is supposed to be difficult. Mondays are supposed to be something that you look forward to. You're supposed to live for your weekends. You're supposed to just slog through your life and hope that you can relax when it's time to retire, right? These are all beliefs that you have acquired. You have learned this stuff. These things they don't have to be true. They're not truth with a capital T. This is truth with a lowercase t, because you and other people make them true, right? Do you make those true for you? And the question, what if I could make it different? What if it could be different? When you think about that question, we start with the physical possibility, right? What if Mondays were awesome? Let's use our sad little dumpling sticker as an example. What if Mondays were amazing? What if I loved my Mondays? What if I couldn't wait to get through my weekend because I love what I do on Mondays? Whether that's work or whether that's something else for you. Is that, first of all, asking the question, what if, helps to move yourself out of that brick box that you've built for yourself, right? Helps to move you out of those walls where you've doubled down on, here are the reasons why I have to settle for a life that doesn't really light me up, right? So asking yourself, what if, helps to switch the brain from running a search. You can think of it as like an internet search engine. So in your mind, typically what we do is, hey brain, show me all the reasons why I have to play it safe. Show me all the reasons why it's good for me to settle. Show me all the reasons why I should be okay and content with a life that does not light me up. And your brain will say, okay, here are all the reasons. And it'll say things like, because you're not experienced enough, because you're not brave enough, because you're not attractive enough, because you're not smart enough, because you're not rich enough. So whatever those things are, your brain is like, hey, here's a ever-growing list of reasons why you should settle and just be grateful for what you have and not try and make waves and not try and rock the boat and go for the life that, lights you up. Here are the reasons you shouldn't do that. So asking the question, but what if I could? What if it could be different? Even just what if can switch the brain from spending energy and focus and attention to finding the reasons why you should stay content for a life that doesn't truly fulfill you. And it says, well, what if I could? Here are the reasons and ways that it could happen. It switches it from self-defensive mode, from protection mode, and stalling behavior results, and moves it into the realm of possibility. It engages the creativity, it engages the imagination, and now its attention and focus is directed toward and superpower, that your brain is insanely powerful. Direct that power to something that's going to empower you, that's going to do you good, that's going to serve you and work for you by finding something. What if I could? What if it could be different? That's those simple two words, what if, open up and switch the brain into what it's really, really good at. Roberto, does having a routine help here? Not sure if I can ask questions. You can always ask questions. Yay. And I'll get to your question in just a second, actually. Thank you for asking it. First, you want to ask the question, what if? What if I could? What if it could be different? What if my job could be super fulfilling? What if I could feel alive in my relationship with my partner? What if I could live somewhere else? What if I could live by the beach? What if I could, make a living from doing something that I love? What if I could? Then we're moving from all the reasons why we can't do those things into, maybe I could do those things. And your brain starts to get creative, right? So we want to use the amazing capabilities that we've been given to help us, to serve us, not to continue to bring, box us in, building this little house where we double down on all the reasons why we have to shrink, why we have to just survive through life instead of thrive in life. Survive through life instead of thrive through life. Okay, so Roberto, does having a routine help here? So naturally, humans are routine-based creatures. We like our habits. We like having habits. We like having structure and routine, even if that structure and routine is one that we don't like, right? So having a routine is something that we like to do, but we want to make sure that we're looking at that routine and seeing if that routine actually is serving us or not. Because a lot of times our routines can be the things boxing us in. I don't go for the job promotion because it's just not part of who I am. Maybe my mental routine is that I'm here to show up at my job and do good work and then clock out and then hate my job and not look forward to going to work the next day. Maybe, I hate the commute. I hate this. These in my mind, I'm envisioning all of these, not just movie scenes, but also real life in a former life I had where you're commuting. And if you take a moment, whether you're on a subway or you're driving or you're walking, you look around at everyone else who's commuting and they look like the life has been drained out of them. They look soulless. They look half alive because they are barely surviving, because they are locked in a routine that is not life-giving. So yes, having a routine is a good thing in that we are creatures of habit and we like routines, but we want to make sure that those routines that we're using are routines that are helping us. So as we're shifting from a life that we're settling from and that we're not completely 100% in love with into a life that lights us up, we want to make sure that we're building routines and adjusting our routines that are going to help us get there. So, okay, now Alexa oh my God. 1 second, guys. Alexa, stop. Oh my gosh. Sorry about that. What was I saying? Okay, so for our routines, right? We want to make sure that we are building in routines that are helping us to live the life that we love. So is your routine helping you to be healthy? Is your routine including, things like hydration, physical movement, making sure that you're being mentally clear? Is your routine to make decisions from a place of what would bring me most alive? Or is your routine to make decisions from a place of what's less risky? What's going to create as few waves as possible? So if that makes sense, we all have habits and routines about how we go through our days, how we make decisions, how we show up in relationships, how we deal with conflict, how we deal with stress. All of those are routines and habits, but we want to make sure that those routines and habits are actually moving us toward the person we aspire to be, instead of keeping us in this version of ourselves and not letting us grow forward. Okay, so, oh, hey, Kelly, how are you? Good to see you. Your comment is, I love my routine and work most of the days. Gives me purpose. Yes, just need to find a way to be patient with others who might be on a different mindset about prioritizing work. Yeah, so that could be a very specific situation that you're referring to. But when we think about other people who are living their lives, and we're wishing that they had different priorities, or that they had different values, or they, were showing up to our preference, whatever that looks like for them, right? Or whatever that looks like for us. We have to remember that it is a really good thing that we are not able to control other people, because we have our work cut out for us by controlling just ourselves, right? That's being responsible for one human being. And we're talking about, our personal growth and our personal journey through life. But we're not talking about like kids or pets or anything. It is an enormous responsibility, and it is an enormous honor to have the brain, the heart, the body, the life that you have. Okay? It is astronomically unlikely for you to exist. Think of all the things that had to happen for you to even be born. The odds are against that, right? So the fact that you even exist is amazing. Is amazing, amazing, amazing. And so we want to be channeling our focus and our energy and our time and talents, all of our resources, on thriving in this life. But what if I could thrive, right? When we start to say, okay, I wish this other person who is just as astronomically unlikely to exist as me, and it is amazing that they exist in the first place. It's absolutely amazing that they exist, and that we exist in the same point in space and time, and we work together, and we're in this environment together. It's really important to take the big picture and realize, like, first of all, it's amazing that we even know each other and we exist in the same point in time in this billions of years of our universe, right? Then we start to think of, okay, they work differently. They have different priorities, as they should. Not everyone should have the same priorities. Not everyone should have the same values and behave the same way, because that wouldn't make sense. Because we're all unique individual beings who happen to be here. And when we get frustrated, right? That's the kind of surface level human version of us, right? Like, I wish they would maybe do their work differently. I wish they would prioritize work. We want to watch out for assumptions, because maybe they are prioritizing work and this is just the way of doing it, because priorities look different for everybody. We want to focus on who we can control, and that's ourselves. What we can control, and that's our thoughts and behaviors, right? So if that means having a conversation saying, hey, in order for us to both to succeed at work, I would really appreciate it if you could deliver this on time, or if you could do this in this way. That can help move things forward. But in the grand scheme of things, Kelly, this is about starting first with asking the question, what if we could both thrive in work, like you and your coworker? What if we could find a way where we could both work together cohesively and productively and love it, right? And what if we could both thrive here today? And when we start to ask the question, what if, we move ourselves from being stuck of, oh, like I wish my coworker would show up differently. I wish my coworker would prioritize work, into what if we could both do well here? And what if we could both, show up as we need to? Then our brain starts to get into, well, what is it that I can do to make that happen? What are the solutions that I could focus my time and talents and energy toward, instead of, oh, this isn't working for me? Saying, I wish this was different and this isn't working for me. That's a full stop to that sentence, right? That's where we end the thinking process, and we just kind of say, okay, we shrug our shoulders and we're resigned to, this isn't an ideal situation for me. But when we ask ourselves, what if it could be different? Then the brain starts to say, okay, well, I guess we could do this, or I could ask her to do this, or, here's a different thing that we could come up with together. And it starts to go into problem solving mode, and it starts to get really creative, right? So the things that we are not happy with in our lives, or the things that we are making excuses for, what if we didn't have to make excuses? What if we were living a life that we didn't have to make excuses for? What if we were living a life where we didn't have to settle? What would that look like? So just wanted to kind of share this with you today. I hope it's useful. Share this with someone in your life if you feel like they might be running into a little bit of friction, a little bit of, running into some blocks, and they don't know where to start. Share this episode with them in case this is useful to them. We are all holding ourselves back in some way or another. Many of us in many ways. When you think of, even just, if we just talk about 4 different areas of our life, we talk about our work, or how we spend our time and talents, and our vocation, our health and wellness and well-being, mentally, physically, and emotionally, our time and our money, essentially our resources, your calendar and your bank account. Where are you settling in those areas, right? And then, of course, did I say relationships? I just gave a training earlier today. I recorded a training that's actually going to be on sale on my website very, very soon. It has this workbook. This is a draft that I printed out for myself. But anyway, we covered the 4 different areas that I generally focus on with clients: work, relationships, time and finances, and health and well-being. So in those 4 main quadrants of your life, chances are there are things that you have become okay with normalizing, and saying, making excuses for, well, this is not ideal because da 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 da. Or, everybody fights in relationships, or relationships are supposed to fizzle after you've been with someone for so long, or work is supposed to be difficult, and it's, as you get older, your health starts to go. Those are statements that we use to justify things that are not going to our preference, right? So think about these 4 different areas of your life. Think about things that you maybe have been making excuses for and haven't realized. You've kind of tricked yourself into thinking that everything is fine, when really we're designed to thrive, not just to be fine. The fact that we exist in the first place is amazing, right? It is astronomically unlikely that you exist. And so why can that sense of awe and that sense of, oh my God, like deep gratitude, not exist across all the different areas of your life? Not just about the fact that you are alive, right? Oh my gosh, I can't believe that I get to do this work. I can't believe that I get to be with this person and spend time with these people. I can't believe that I get to celebrate my body by strengthening it and by nourishing it with healthy food. I can't believe that I get to invest my time and money in these types of things. Kelly, phone died, kick me out, charging now. Hello, welcome back, Kelly. For me, being in a relationship is an equal partnership, and it works well in all the aspects. Good. I'm glad. We want to make sure that we're in relationships where we bring out the best of one another, right? That we encourage each other to grow, and we love spending time with each other. And we are not holding each other back. what happens with what's interesting with relationships is that we end up maybe saying, okay, this is the person that brings me alive now, and the way that our societal expectations around relationships are come to be, okay, the version of yourself and the version of this other person, you say yes to each other now. We assume that it's always going to be a yes, right? Not to like scare anyone into breaking up or anything, but we have to honor the fact that we are always growing, we are always evolving, and so is the other person. So if it's not a continual, yes, I still choose you, and yes, you are still the person who brings me alive, and yes, I come alive when I'm around you, then it's time to bring that to completion. It's time to release it, right? Because we never want to get in the way of stunting ourselves or stunting another person, right? Because we are here to do a mission. And if we are draining our energy, spending it with someone who's not bringing us alive or who's no longer bringing us alive, it is a waste of energy. It is a misdirection of energy, right? So for those of you who are in relationships or seeking relationships, please keep that in mind, because a lot of folks get into relationships from a scarcity mindset, saying, misusing the phrase what if, right? Which is what we're talking about today. Misusing the phrase, what if I'm alone forever? What if nobody else wants me? What if I never find anyone as good? And we settle for someone who is fine, right? Instead of what if I was about to find my soulmate? What if I was about to find, someone who really brings me alive? And we get into relationships from a fear-based mentality, from a scarcity mindset, and then we end up settling and settling and settling for the entire lives, for a lot of people from, until they die. So, just my soapbox on relationships. It breaks my heart to see people stunting themselves because they said yes to a relationship years ago based on who both people were at that time, right? And they stop giving themselves the luxury of asking, what if I came alive either more fully with someone else or alone by myself? So just something to, whether that's relationships, whether that's how you spend your time at your job, it's all very important. So Kelly, is there a point where people stop evolving? No, never. Never. If we feel like we have stopped evolving, we're not we're not giving ourselves the permission to evolve. We're actively stunting ourselves, right? And that could be not looking for more outlets to grow through. That could be we have boxed ourselves in to the point where we feel we have created a belief that there is no ability to evolve and to grow. We are always evolving. We are designed to evolve. We are designed to grow constantly. Constantly. If you come to a point in your life, in any aspect of your life where you feel like you've plateaued, it's really time to ask the question, what if this was different? What if I could come alive in this area of my life? It's critical to ask that question, because otherwise we are wasting the gift of being alive in the first place. So not only are we always evolving, but we need to evolve, because that is how we honor the gift of being alive in the first place. Otherwise, we are wasting it. So anytime you're feeling like, I feel like I'm boxing myself in, I feel like I worry that there's more out there, I feel like I used to be more alive, I used to be more vibrant, use that question, what if? What if it could be different? What if I could feel more alive? What if I could thrive? What if I could love my life? What would that look like? Right? So I invite you all to ask yourself the question, what if? And use it in a way where you seek answers that bring you alive, that help you, encourage you to keep evolving, that help you thrive in all areas of your life. Okay. As you all know, today is the perfect day to dream up and dive into a life that absolutely lights you up. And I hope that this episode on what if and this conversation on what if has been useful. Please share this, whether you're watching on Instagram, on YouTube, or you're listening on Anchor on the podcast. Share this with someone who feels maybe like they've gotten stuck, right? Or they've plateaued. Because they don't deserve to plateau. They don't deserve to be living in a box. They don't deserve to be stunting themselves. So yeah, this is something I'm clearly passionate about. And if you have questions, if you like help, if you want more support around this, I have tons of resources that I already have and that I am in the process of creating and releasing on my website to help folks in that situation. So we'll talk soon. Every Wednesday at 1:30 p.m. Pacific time, I go live, and then I'll be releasing the episode of this audio recording on the AfterMinders podcast in just a few minutes. Have an amazing day. Have an amazing, amazing week. And I will talk to you all soon. Bye.